Gotham Knights has to be one of the weirdest games that I've seen in a while. A lot of reviewers have torn this game to shreds, but despite that, I've seen a lot of people say that they're enjoying the game, myself being one of them. I know what you're thinking, how could I enjoy this game when so many people are saying that it's awful? Well, stick around and I'll tell you why. I feel like a lot of people didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Some of them probably expected an experience close to the Arkham games, which Gotham Knights obviously isn't, and maybe some others just don't like the way that the RPG mechanics are implemented, which honestly could have been done way better, but is this game bad? Well, I've played plenty of bad games in my life, and I don't think that this is one of them. Now that I've finally finished the game and gathered all of my thoughts, I can honestly say that overall I think that Gotham Knights is a good game, or better said, an okay game. A little rough around the edges, sure, but nowhere near bad. Sure, the game is 30 FPS, and while I definitely would have preferred 60, I quickly got over it once I started playing. I had a few slowdowns here and there, mostly being the few times I tried out co-op, but it wasn't enough to ruin my experience. And over time, I've actually found myself getting pretty immersed in this game, traveling through Gotham, beating up criminals, and just enjoying the little details that WB Montreal put into creating Gotham. It took me a while to come to this conclusion because at first I didn't like WB Montreal's version of Gotham City at all, especially compared to Arkham Knights. But over time, I came to appreciate all of the little details, and I really liked the way that they made each of the districts have their own look and feel that separate them from each other. You can see the care that went into designing Gotham City in this game. Now, if only that much care was put into everything else, then the conversation would be a different one. I respect the fact that WB Montreal wanted to do their own thing and not just make an Arkham-style game, because while that would have been the easy way, and honestly what most people would have wanted, they would have been limited creatively and we wouldn't have gotten what we have with Gotham Knights, which is hopefully the start of something great. I could see them building on what they have here, taking in feedback and improving on what works to make something way better. Like the combat. And I know this is a bit of a hot take, but I kind of like the combat in Gotham Knights more than the Arkham style. Now before you click off, let me explain. I love the Arkham games, but one thing that I liked the least about them was the combat. Ping-ponging from enemy to enemy and countering attacks was a little too repetitive to me and the kind of combat that I like. The way that I played Gotham Knights was that I cycled through the 4 characters throughout the game. Each character played different enough that I was able to change my playstyle a little depending on who I was playing. For example, as Robin, I would dip in and out of combat toying with my enemies, picking them off one at a time, and as Batgirl, I would use my momentum abilities and take enemies on in combat. And to me, that made me feel more immersed in the combat as opposed to Arkham's. Again, I know this is a very unpopular opinion, and most won't feel that way, and I'm not saying that Arkham's combat is bad, by the way, just that I don't prefer it over Gotham Knights. And maybe if there's ever a sequel in the future, then WB Montreal could improve on it, which I would really like. Another thing I would like to see improved is the way that suit styles and transmogs work. I really liked the suits that they had in this game, and being able to customize parts of it was something that I loved way more than I thought I would. The only thing that I didn't like was that you couldn't customize the transmog. There were certain suits that I preferred, but I couldn't use them because they were way too low leveled and I just couldn't find some of them at higher levels. And honestly, there were times where I just wore the lower level suits because I liked the design and said screw the stats. But aside from that, I didn't mind the RPG mechanics, though they definitely need improvement. And last, I want to briefly give my non-spoiler opinion on the story. I liked most of it. It's not great or anything, a little predictable at times, but it was decent. There are a few things that I think they should have done a little better, but I don't want to spoil, so I'll just leave it at that. I did like how the characters would acknowledge which knight you were using and speak to them differently, rather than just have generic lines that they use for every character. I played the majority of the game as Batgirl, so I'm interested to see the interactions from the other characters' perspective, if I ever play this game again in the future. Now, with everything being said, would I recommend Gotham Knights? If you're a fan of the characters and you don't mind the fact that it's an RPG, meaning you might have to grind a few levels and gear here and there, then this might be for you. It didn't feel too grindy to me because I kind of like this playstyle, and I swapped characters on a regular basis, and since the levels are shared, you're leveling each character even while playing as the others. One thing that should be made very clear if it wasn't already, this is not an Arkham game, and it doesn't play like one. So if that puts you off, then obviously this game isn't for you. Honestly, even though I enjoyed the game for what it was, I would not tell someone to go out and get it for $70. I'd say wait until it's around 40 bucks or less and then pick it up if you're still interested in it. Overall, it's an okay game, and hopefully the groundwork for something much better in the future. If you liked the video, then please leave a like and maybe subscribe to support the channel. I'm Mako, and I hope to see you all in the next video, but until then, take care.